So, final presentation from Team C Buffalo. They will talk about direction to improving ship recycling legal system. Please welcome Team C Buffalo.
Hi, dear Sweet
Buffalo.
It is great honor to be here. It's been a long and meaningful journey to the finals.
We put a lot of hard work into the mock assembly and eventually made it. Today we are going to present direction to improving ship recycling legal system.
We hope you find our presentation insightful, practical, and enjoyable. We will show you what it is like to swim like a sea buffalo. All eyes and ears on us, please. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, fellow delegates, and the most esteemed guests, it is a great honor to present you our proposal on direction to improving ship recycling legal system. Our index is as follows, and we will start our presentation with the background of Hong Kong Convention enactment, current state of ship recycling, and global environmental trends. Back in May 2009, noting the growing concerns about safe, health, the environment, and welfare matters in the ship recycling industry, and recognizing that recycling of ships contributes to sustainable development and is the best option for ships that have reached the end of their operating life, the IMO adopted the Hong Kong International Convention for Safe and Environmentally Sound Recycling of Ships. It has been 13 years since its enactment, yet it hasn't entered into force for some regions. While it hasn't entered into force, ship recycling still has many problems. The IAEA considers ship recycling to be one of the most dangerous in the world, and it is difficult to estimate the number of fatalities, but the accident rate lies at 2 in 1,000 people. Furthermore, 60% of workers suffer from asbestos-related diseases. In addition to the cost of human lives, ship recycling is detrimental to the environment. Much of ship recycling occurs through beaching, and it tends to be the most damaging approach to the ship recycling. Steel waste, oil from vessels, persistent organic pollutants enter waterways and pollute the air, killing valuable species and ecosystem in the process. Considering global environmental trends, the international demand for ship recycling is expected to rapidly expand. The MEPC of the IMO adopted revisions to international regulation for prevention of air pollution from ships, which is MARPOL Annex 6. The revision regulation included a requirement that the sulfur content of fuel oil used by ship operation outside the designated emission control area shall not exceed 0.5 by mass. This tightening regulation makes a rapid increase in demand for conversion to eco-friendly ships, and it accelerates a movement in the market to dismantle older ships. Secondly, the recent trends in sustainability, the ESG performance, are now impacting decisions of our maritime stakeholders with the emerging contractual and regulatory requirements. The industry now needs not only to communicate, but to engage with an effective strategy towards sustainable shipping. Last, the United Nations established 17 sustainable goals, and one of them is life below water under Sustainable Development Goal 14. In purpose of enhancing the conservation and sustainable use of oceans and their resources by implementing an international law as reflected in UN clause, it aims to prevent and significantly reduce marine pollution of all kinds, in particular from land-based activities, including marine debris and nutrient pollution by 2025. To sum up, in all aspects, the need for early enforcement of Hong Kong Convention is urged. Especially in the common concern of mankind, the Hong Kong Convention should be entered into force as soon as possible. Now the second speaker will talk about problem analysis.
In the main topic, we will look at Hong Kong Convention or Ship Recycling Agreement. The agreement deals with obligations such as ship design, construction, maintenance, operation, and ship recycling procedures to promote safe and environmentally friendly ship recycling without compromising ship safety and operational efficiency. Currently, the convention is not in effect because number 2 and 3 requirements are not met. The first requirement for the entry into force of the convention is that there must be more than 15 rectification countries, and the requirements have been met because 17 countries have rectified them, such as the following countries. Regarding to the second entry requirements, it did not meet the requirements at 29.77% of the volume of the merchant ship. As you can be seen from the Article 3 applications of the convention, in order to know the combined merchant fleets, it is necessary to know what country ships are registered. The country in which the ship is owned and the country in which the ship is registered may be different, which is called as flag of convenience. In other words, even if a country with a high actual volume of merchant ships, as you can be seen from figure number 2, if the ships are flag of convenience vessels, the entry requirements number 2 are not met, as it is different from the beneficiary of the vessels and the country registered in the flag country. In order to satisfy 40% of the merchant shipping, the meaning of the ship owner should be clarified. Panama, Liberia, Marshall Islands, and the Bahamas, which are the representative flag of convenience countries, will have to rectify the agreement. If so, these countries will have to consider whether they have any reason to rectify this agreement. Regarding to the last requirement, it did not meet the requirements at 2.44% of the required recycling volume of 40% of the gross tonnages of the world's merchant shipping, which are 13,967,260 gross tonnages. In order to meet the number 3 entry requirements, it is necessary to find out whether India, Turkey, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, which are countries where ship recycling is activated, have any reason to rectify this agreement. The Hong Kong Convention includes strict obligations and regulations that mandate procedures for ship rehabilitations, such as preparation of a list of hazardous substances, approval of ship dismantling facilities from the government, and so on. But in reality, this is considered to be a hard difficulty for developing countries to rectify this agreement and to implement. In order for the agreement to take effect, the IMO will have to create a flow so that the countries can recognize that the issue they voluntarily solve is really a matter. In addition, more currently, the current issue is not just a problem in developing countries, but a common concern of mankind and requires a global attention.
Moving on to the conclusion, we propose amendments to the Hong Kong Convention as a resolution for the problems that prevent the convention from entering into force. Article 17 overlooks the fact that the abilities to meet the standards set in the convention differ between developed countries, who are mostly ship owning, and developing countries, who are mostly ship recycling. Applying a uniform standard upon states of different financial abilities therefore creates a higher bar for developing countries who have to make substantial investments into their ship recycling facilities. To level the playing field, we propose to amend Article 17 to allow states to make reservation to the convention, subject to the following provision that we propose to add.
Article 22, reservation to the convention, will allow states to delay the enforcement of the convention up to 5 years after its entry into force through reservation, which must be accepted by not less than 5 other parties to the convention. The reservation, of course, must be compatible with the object and purpose of the convention, which means it must be the minimum that is absolutely necessary for the states to have a fair advantage. The amendment to Article 17 and inclusion of Article 22 will help developing countries to catch up with developed countries under the scope of Hong Kong Convention, while preventing states from abusing making reservation to the convention. The second part of our proposal is to create an environment where stakeholders have commercial incentives for voluntarily practicing, or at least being involved in, environmentally sound ship recycling. To do so, we propose to add Chapter 5 to the regulations for safe and environmentally sound recycling of ships annexed to the Hong Kong Convention, under which we propose to add Regulation 26, which establishes the International Maritime Information Board. The board will be a platform where ship owners share data of their ship recycling practices transparently with other stakeholders in the shipping industry. We also propose to add Regulation 27, which obliges the parties to cooperate with the board to collect information on ship recycling from ship owners. The parties will have further obligation to invite other stakeholders in ship recycling industry to access information collected. Now let's look at how the International Maritime Information Board would work. Our proposal to create a voluntary market-driven cycle is modeled after the Ship Recycling Transparency Initiative launched by the Sustainable Shipping Initiative, which is a non-profit organization and UK-registered charity. The mission of the initiative is to accelerate a voluntary market-driven approach to responsible ship recycling practices through transparency. The cycle creates transparency of information that will give reputational and financial risks to ship owners that practice environmentally unfriendly recycling of ships, as the stakeholders make informed decisions based on the data shared by ship owners. Since its launch in 2018, the Ship Recycling Transparency Initiative community has grown to 30 signatories, including 13 disclosing ship owners. We believe the Transparency Initiative can have a far greater effect across the shipping industry if the International Maritime Organization applies it to the global shipping community through the Hong Kong Convention. To conclude, we re-emphasize that environmental ship recycling is a common concern of mankind. It requires an international approach and cooperation, a role which the Hong Kong Convention is all to play. The convention can only be entered into force and enforced effectively if the playing field is leveled for both ship recycling and ship-owning countries. It also be acknowledged that the shipping industry is profit-driven free market requiring commercial incentives for the stakeholders to voluntarily practice environmental ship recycling in compliance with the Hong Kong Convention. So that sums up our presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. So, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. From Peace of Mind.
First of all, thank you for your presentation. And one of your solutions suggested is to slow down the ratification to give time for ADCs to catch up with MEDCs. However, this delegate believed that this would rather give time for MEDCs to fast up and expand the gap between LEDCs and MEDCs. So why do the team believe that this delaying is necessary?
We believe that for developing countries to catch up with the developed countries, they have to take enough sufficient time to raise their funds to invest into their ship recycling facilities. So we can only expect them to take a lot longer time than developed countries to be able to meet the requirements in the convention. Does it answer your question?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Next question from Amo Nushan.
Thank you for your presentation. My question is, so your team mentioned today that you would like to change the entry into force of the Hong Kong Convention, but this delegate believes that the public and the general opinion on ship recycling isn't that popular in the status quo. So my question is, how do you think that this amendment will be effective in facilitating ship recycling for all nations?
Could you repeat the question?
So what I asked is, how do you assure that your amendment will help the ship recycling to facilitate further in other nations?
Well, we suggested 2 proposals, and the second proposal is about creating an environment where stakeholders such as ship recycling facilities, ship owners, cargo owners, banks, insurers have commercial incentives to practice environmentally friendly ship recycling. So if by disclosing data of ship owners' practice on ship recycling, the other stakeholders will make informed decisions, bearing in mind that their decision will carry financial and reputational risks as the market rewards environmentally friendly ship recycling practice. So we suggest the second part of our proposal to facilitate funds to flow into ship recycling facilities, to promote investments to go into the ship recycling facilities, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Congratulations to your great presentation. But I have noticed one big kind of flow to your logic. You clearly mentioned the Hong Kong Convention was adopted in 2009, and now 12 years have passed, but still there is no sign for entering into force of this Hong Kong Convention. At the moment, as you mentioned, convenient a flag of a convenience country is not willing to ratify this convention, and also there is a problem with the ship recycling country like Turkey, Bangladesh, India. Then what's your main proposal to solve this problem? If whenever we have a problem entering the force of a long-lasting convention, is that we loosen the regulation in order to attract the countries concerned. But is your proposal is loosening the regulation or tightening regulation? That's my question.
Our proposal is to loosen regulation, loosen the entry requirement, but at the same time, we strive to make commercial incentives for especially ship recycling facilities countries, so that they would gradually invest into their ship recycling facilities and gradually reach the requirement that the Hong Kong Convention stipulates. So once they get to their point, there will be no holding back for them to sign the convention. Does it answer
in
your
addition
question?
to her answer, we think the most important thing of the Hong Kong Convention is not entered into force yet. So we just propose to lose this kind of regulation. So we just hope this convention should be entered into force as soon as possible, as I mentioned. So this regulation will make the environment more friendly like this.
Okay. Last question, maybe from Mare Nostrum. Yeah.
Thank you for your precious presentation. Well, actually, I don't know much about the international law, but as far as I know, according to the Vienna Convention in 1969, if the requirements for entry into force are not met, it will not be revised or amended. What do you have any idea on this? Because the Hong Kong Convention did not enter into force, and you proposed the amendment to this convention. So I would like to ask this for you.
So we made the proposals based on a proposition that the fundamental principle of international law is having consent of all parties. So that's what we based on our proposal, basically having all parties consent for the amendment. And we also recognize that it can be a procedural error, but our proposal can be applied, for example, by addendum after its entry into force. Plus, there is an Article 18 of the Vienna Convention that you mentioned, which stipulates that the signatories must refrain themselves from acts that would defeat the object and purpose of the convention. So once they sign the convention, we believe that they have to keep themselves quite in line with the convention, and that would be a step further towards the entry into force.
Thank you. Fully understood. Thank you.
I think time is not enough for more questions, so let me finish here. So thank you very much, Tim. What is the name? Sea Buffalo. Thank you very much. Yeah, please return to your seat.